Nussmeier quickly to the slant, and a break free on the catch and run by Kyle Parker, and he takes it to the house for 43 yards.
Safety, man coverage across the board, and you got a slant right here on outside leverage. Just replace the blitzer, get Kyle Parker in space, and let him do work.
And we say a pleasant good evening on a Tuesday morning. Let me take off these sunglasses. LSU got another ugly 20-10 win in the SEC. This time, of course, the opponent, as we know, South Carolina, the Gamecocks. Buddy Sanji in here looking a little rough. These football weekends wear me out. I guess that's why I put the sunglasses on, so you don't have to see me on this Tuesday afternoon. Actually, we are taping Tigers Roar this week on Tuesday, October the 14th. LSU playing at Vandy at 11 a.m. on ABC, and this is not your daddy's this is not anybody's Vanderbilt. This is the first time, folks, that LSU and Vandy both ranked in the top 20 since 1948, and it will be a challenge. Of course, as we know, LSU did a lot of good things. I'll give you some positive stuff to chew on and chop up this week as we talk about what's going to happen the next 6 games. LSU at the halfway point, number 10 in both polls, 5-1 in the overall record, 2-1 in the conference. And I bring in my, of course, producer, guest host, and the guy that stirs a drink over here at Pelican Sports TV and Radio, Jonathan Poche. JP, you made it to the Saints game. Tough performance. They played decent and lost. LSU played decent and won. I told a friend of mine earlier this morning as we had a meeting, you'd rather an ugly win than a pretty loss. But hope you're doing well, JP. And as always, it is amazing just how quickly football season goes for you and me and everybody out there watching today.
I certainly appreciate it, Bud, man. Happy to be here. Of course, happy to have you there in our viewing audience. Of course, you can also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. While you're at the page, go ahead and click the notification, and the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. It certainly helps us with the algorithm, and you get notified every time we post something new right there at Pelican Sports TV's YouTube page. Of course, not only Tigers Roar, but you have the Overtime Series with Athletic Director Roman Banks from Southern University. You have the Talking Sports with Chris Power. A lot of great stuff. We're also going to do an episode of the Roger Kadar Show leading up to homecoming this week for Southern. So a lot of good stuff here at Pelican. Of course, football season, always a whirlwind. I had a very busy weekend starting with fishing on Friday morning. Had football practice Friday evening. Woke up early, had the football tournament all day. Caught the LSU game during a parent party for the baseball team that I coach. Sunday went to the Saints game. Then we had zombie paintball over at NOLA Speedway. So a very busy weekend. Of course, I'm blessed to get to spend a lot of time with my family. Love the season of football because you always have to do on the weekend with those that you love. But yeah, you mentioned it. I was able to go to the Saints game. I did catch the Broncos preseason game, but this was different, Bud, man. I was able to have the opportunity to sit in the loge section, which was the first time since before Hurricane Katrina I was in the loge. Beautiful Champions Club, great amenities. Everything is very nice, upgraded. Of course, prices have skyrocketed since the last time I had a beer at the Superdome. $17 for a Stella. Ouch. But the Saints did play pretty well, gave up too many big plays to Patriots. Those New England fans are certainly thinking that Drake May is going to be the next Tom Brady incarnated because he looked pretty good, Bud, man. I'm just going to say that. And getting back to LSU game, I thought Trey'Daz Green had a fantastic game. I thought play calling was better for LSU. I'm going to ask you about your buddy Mike Scarborough posting a picture on Twitter. Looked like Brian Kelly was calling the plays, Bud, man. What'd you hear about that?
I was surprised that nobody actually asked BK that yesterday at the Monday presser. We'll have a little bit of that coming up. We've got some highlights from the game coming up, and obviously we've got some player interviews. We didn't have time. JP didn't have time to get us some Saints stuff, so we'll go through this and kind of talk a little bit about the season so far And, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about offensive play calling. Now, JP, you had all those fatherly duties, and you do a great job with your family. I'm a single man, sleeping single in a double bed and watching a lot of football games during the season. My girlfriend gets to see me a couple of times a week, but basically we're so locked in with this season because they go by so quickly. And quite frankly, we'll kind of start with the weekend, and I'm watching Alabama and Missouri. Good, solid ball game, excellent teams, both been in the top 10, top 15 all year long. Missouri, of course, now has to go play on the road after hosting all the games on at home. But the play calling, JP, what they were doing to get their skilled people involved in the action is so much better. Ryan Grubb at Alabama is doing so much a better job with Joe Sloan and BK. And to get to your answer, it did look like BK was getting heavily involved in the second half. And quite frankly, I've got to say, what took so long.
Right.
No disrespect to Joe Sloan. Look, there's a lot of people that go into coming up with the scripted 15 plays to start the game, and of course the rest of the play calling. But BK is on the headset listening, and generally speaking, Joe would make a call and he'd listen. It did seem like he definitely was having a lot more interaction and maybe even telling Joe what to call. I think that's where we have to differentiate. Joe Sloan is the offensive coordinator. He actually calls the plays unless BK says, hey, call this play,
right,
and he tells him what to call. So I'm hoping to get over there on Thursday and ask the coach about that. Surprised that none of the media even picked up on that. But that being said, I don't think that LSU can go 5-1 the back half of this season, calling the same plays, executing the way they are. Folks, let's just be honest. LSU's got to play better than these 20-10 wins. Should have beaten Florida much more. Should have won this game by a couple more touchdowns. And so now we get into the mental, physical, and psychological psyche of Garrett Nussmeier.
Yep.
We get into Jawan Johnson, who has now turned it over twice inside the 10-yard line. You get to the frickin' 1-yard line and you're not going to score a touchdown. That's crazy. BK had some lame excuse about, well, he thought he was a quarterback.
Right.
When you are carrying the football, kids, there are pressure points, and you squeeze onto that baby and you get into it. So that's absolutely not good enough. Nuss down there, what is he not doing? Reading the safety. But the good part is that we have been preaching. Not that anybody cares what I have to say. We have been preaching and bitching and going crazy because Dretez Green has been used as a blocker. They got him hurt using him a blocker. JP, this is what we saw. Scarborough, myself, Zach, everybody else in fall camp. The guy's 6'7", 245. He should have been utilized like this all year long. At least they made that mistake corrected.
Right.
But now you got Kyle Parker coming in, and if you get Aaron Anderson and the rest of those guys, this is a strength of this football team to get it in the hands of wide receivers who can make plays and give you matchup problems.
Yeah.
And so a long answer to your question, but that is going to be determined. And look, he doesn't want to embarrass Joe Sloan and say I took over play calling. But I think he also realizes that if they keep calling the same plays and executing like this, they could very well lose to Vanderbilt. A&M's looking better than them. Alabama's looking better than them.
Yep.
And then, of course, Oklahoma, depending on the health of John Mateer. So, 5-1, you think they're number 10 in the country, realistic?
I think they're a top 10 team, and I thought they did some things with the offensive line this past weekend that showed improvement. I mean, vast improvement, firing off the ball, opening up holes in the middle. And LSU got gashed, and I think it was pretty much on the linebackers, that long 78-yard run. I thought Whit Weeks kind of washed himself out of the play right through the A-gap. You can't get gashed that deep straight through the middle of your defense. But getting back to the offensive line, look, Stewart is for real. I mean, you might have heard about his name before the game, but if you saw him play,
Dylan Stewart.
When he planted Jack Bauer, Bauer Sharp in the backfield as the up back,
Yeah.
and then stepped over him like Kobe did to Ty Lue. I mean, this dude was for real. He's fast, got a great first move, very strong. And I thought Weston Davis in pass pro did a pretty good job, Bud, man. Yes, he did have some mistakes in run blocking. They did stone on him a couple times and give up some pressure, but the offensive line, in my opinion, took leaps and bounds step forward with the run game. And I thought, over what was it, 160 yards on the ground. That's going to be right around where LSU wants to be. The wide receiving core still got to come around. You talk about Aaron Anderson getting healthy, but Tre'Davious Green has got to be a focal point in this offense moving forward. The guy just demands so much attention. He's a mismatch nightmare. You can't cover him one-on-one, especially in the red zone, the green zone, whatever you want to call it. Got to make him a focal point. I thought Juwan Johnson, outside the fumble in the red zone, looked really good running the football. Caden Durham got a little banged up. But, man, I'm tired of watching defensive backs body Caden Durham on the sideline. It seems to happen, every run that busts to the outside. He is getting laid out. I understand he's a smaller back, staying low to the ground. Got to run through some more tackles. But I thought Juwan Johnson looked pretty good, Bud, man. And outside of those red zone turnovers, obviously you mentioned Garrett Nussmeier, the interception on the RPO. Got to read the safety. That is the read on the play. He'll admit to that. He'll be better next time. But ball security in the red zone has got to be a paramount a priority for this team moving forward. Because, Diego Pavia, that offense for Vanderbilt, they're going to try to run smash mouth football. Very disciplined, as you'll hear Coach Brian Kelly talk about a little bit later on this show. But no more pushovers. This is going to be a very tough task. 11 a.m. kickoff. Coach Brian Kelly was joking about it in a press conference, said that LSU fans need to wake up early and start drinking. Have Bloody Marys at 6 and then continue it. And I don't think he's that far off, Bud, man. You got to get into the game really early. You can't fall asleep in the first quarter because LSU does not want to be chasing points against Vanderbilt.
All right, we'll recap last weekend in college football. We will give you all of the particulars coming up this weekend. As JP said so eloquently, 11 a.m. Look, JP, I hear it from people all the time. When you're on the road, they don't mind the 11 a.m. start. We also hear it from player interviews. Look, I don't mind an 11 o'clock game on the weekend because we get back in town 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and go take the girlfriend for a movie and a hamburger. That's something they normally don't have access to. But I will warn you, Vanderbilt's been starting fast. LSU doesn't start fast. Go back to the Tennessee game a few years ago at 11 o'clock in the morning. They got their butts kicked. This is going to be a big challenge to have everybody who normally sleeps in Saturday morning. Most of the time, LSU's playing 6, 6:30, 6:45. This is going to be a challenge. We'll talk about that. Recap the weekend. Texas comes back and makes a statement over OU. James Franklin and Penn State lose for the third consecutive time, and Penn State says, we're going to say bye-bye to you, James Franklin. Horrific record against top 5 and top 10, and they fire him. $49 million buyout. And no, you Tiger fans, I don't feel like there's any validity that BK would get a chance to coach at Penn State. They're probably going to go somebody a little bit younger and locked into that part of the country, but you're going to have his name thrown around. And some people, Tiger fans, say, go, 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 go. Other people say, no, we don't want you to go. It's not easy, but Penn State pulling the rug at this point in the season. Of course, there's been some NFL firings as well as other college coaches. Getting spicy on college football as we get the midway point. We'll talk about it when we come back. Recap the weekend and get you ready for LSU Vandy with a lot more right here on Tigers Roar TV. Buddy Sanji, Jonathan Poche, of course, Marty Campbell, as always, the cameraman, making us look as good as possible. Hope everybody doing well on of course, Columbus Day, October 14th. Back right after this with more on Pelican Sports TV.
Designed to take you where you want to go, when you want to go. Get 1.9% financing for 60 months on a new Mazda CX-50. Named an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus Award winner. Choose from over 40 CX-50s right now and save at Team Mazda on Airline.
When I started this practice over 35 years ago, I had one goal: to treat every patient like family. And over the years, I've watched kids grow up in this office, come back as parents, and now I'm seeing their kids in the same chair. That kind of trust, it's not something we take for granted. This isn't just where we do dentistry, it's where we make people feel at home. Frugier Family Dentistry, where you treat it like family. Call or visit FrugierFamilyDentistry.com to schedule.
Visit Treads & Care Tire Company's new location on Hooper Road in Central. Locally owned for over 50 years, Treads & Care is known for quality automotive repair and top-notch customer service.
I'd like to invite you to come out and see us at our new location in Central.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
And we welcome you back here, checking the phone on a Tuesday morning, getting into Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody doing well, and we hope that your Tigers play better. Let's dive into it right here. I'm going to give you a little overview. You made a couple of good points, JP. LSU had 5 sacks in this game, didn't give up any. That is appreciably better at the line of scrimmage. Blake Baker played Blake Baker and LSU defense. You get after them. That crap that they dialed up against Ole Miss was what we just called it. And this football team has to be aggressive on defense. Of course, as we know, they had a couple of takeaways, but they gave it away 3 times. And so got to clean up with Nuss, got to clean up the fumbles, got to clean up inside the red zone. But Cohen Eccles came in at left guard and played really good for Paul Mubinga. Surprised Carius Kern didn't get a look-see there. But, JP, now we're going to get into what people are going to adjust to. And so they're going to shade, and they're going to start to double over the top with Trey'Dez Green, which means this week Bowers Sharp, Berrien Brown, Aaron Anderson, and Kyle Parker. Xavier Thomas got thrown in the timeout because he tried to pull an Eddie Kennison and caught a punt at the 8 and backed up all the way to the end zone. Eddie, you might remember, took one 100 yards years ago. And that's crazy stuff, but he got thrown in the timeout, and we didn't see much of him. But, JP, you know Vanderbilt with Clark Lee, a great defensive coach, was a defensive coordinator with Kelly for 3 or 4 years before at Notre Dame. He's going to have double coverage on 14, so now you got to come up with different plans. Bowers Sharp, to me, you chip, let him release, and catch 4 or 5 balls. And as you mentioned with Caden Durham, use him in the passing game. But he has been taking quite a bit of punishment. And let's be honest, JP, they've got to have a little bit better vision with their running backs. Not happy with their running backs. Some holes were there. They just hadn't been seeing them. That being said, they got 165-plus yards rushing. So a lot of good. If you win at 34-10 without the 2 takeaways inside the red zone, everybody's feeling happy. But now a lot of trepidation moving into these last 6 games.
Yeah, you would have loved Chris Hilton to come down with that catch. I mean, my goodness. I get your calf was bumped, but you have to have the confidence to secure that catch, especially when Nussmeier puts it in that window. Chris Hilton can absolutely run past anybody on the defense. Guy's got world-class speed, but you have got to secure the football if you want another opportunity. The coaches have confidence in him. They keep on putting him out there. He's hadn't had a bunch of success this season, but kid's so talented, you have to give him an opportunity. The one thing I'll say about the defense, man, I thought it was towards the end of the game, second half especially, I thought they used Harold Perkins much more getting after the quarterback, which I need to see. Yeah. I need to see Harold Perkins get after the quarterback. His feel for the snap count, the way he sheds blocks, That is his special elite ability. It's not in coverage. I'm not saying he's bad in coverage.
I agree.
I think he's a good cover linebacker, but he's not elite. He's not a nickel corner. He's not matching up against a wide receiver and getting hands on and running down the field. And that's not a knock on Harold Perkins. The guy has elite ability to get after the quarterback, and I think Blake Baker kind of leaned into that towards the end of the game. I thought they did a great job with Lenore Sellers. I'm a huge Sellers fan. I think he can absolutely wreck a game, dominated with his legs, has a great arm on top of that, and I thought LSU did a pretty good job. Pyburn, I mean, how many sacks did we see him just this close to wrapping up Sellers, bouncing off the last second. Sellers turns into a 2-3 yard gain, but that's still affecting the quarterback, affecting his timing, getting that clock to speed up. I like all of those. DJ Pickett with the corner blitz, nice sack. That kid is coming into his own real quick as a Tiger. Loving that development by Blake Baker. They talked a little bit about Corey Raymond in the press conference and how he coaches these kids hard. P.J. Woodland, DJ Pickett, Mansour Delane, these guys have been shut down corners. You saw DeMarcus Cooley get a big interception this past weekend. He's been playing well. A.J. Halsey is he's the best thumper I've seen in that secondary since LaRon Landry. And that's just my opinion. But that guy brings the lumber each and every game, and the communications have been a lot better. I would just like to see Harold Perkins get after that quarterback a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with all of those sentiments. Let's roll some highlights, JP. LSU and South Carolina. You saw opening of the show. Great to see Kyle Parker. You forget how fast Kyle Parker is. But JP, great comments. There you go. Lenore Sellers, 22 rushes, only 19 yards. And here we go with a fumble snap early and a recovered fumble.
Yeah, first play on defense, had him juiced up. Would have loved to score a touchdown right there. LSU does settle for 3. Knuckleball kick by Ramos, but it does go through for LSU to take an early lead.
Once again, not great play calling when you got the takeaway. Here you go, Nuss, as always, back it up and fires the ball right here over to Trey Green. JP, this is what we've been talking about all year long. 6'7", 245. He shields his body. And, of course, on this one.
The fumble.
That was the fumble?
Yeah, this is the fumble by Juwan Johnson.
Yeah.
Got punched out.
That was Juwan Johnson. Got so close, unfortunately, got it knocked out right there, and Carolina ball.
Yeah, I love the target count. There's a huge run up the middle for South Carolina. Longest run of the night, 78 yards for a touchdown. Thought Mansour Delane had a chance to dive at the feet. I don't know if they teach that technique at practice anymore. I know there's a lot of talk about how much you tackle during practice, but I don't see guys diving for the shoelace tackle anymore. Here's a nice run by Caden Durham. Great hole on the left side right there. That's what I'm talking about, bud, man.
Yeah.
That's a safety just bodying your running back down the field.
On that big play, Cooley did miss a tackle. Hurts it once again. Here's number 14. He's a big man, and as we know, he catches everything with his hands, JP. Great hand. I guess you could say great skills, ball skills.
Yep.
And once again, you can't defend that, JP.
He had 11 targets, led the team. I believe it should be that way moving forward. 8 receptions, 119 yards, and that 1 touchdown. Of course, saw Kyle Parker's touchdown in the intro. We'll see it a little bit later on this in this highlight reel, but those were the 2 passing touchdowns. Huge interception right here, DeMarcus Cooley. 3-point lead going into halftime. Great play right there by the safety.
Cooley and Halsey have really been consistent. I know people are looking for Deshaun Spears to play a little bit more, but they've been fantastic. 2 of the great pickups in the portal. Here we go with Nuss, and as always, this was a great catch by Caden Durham on the sideline.
That is vintage Garrett Nussmeier right there. Rolling out to his right, somehow finds a window to his running back who's undersized. Great catch by Caden Durham. Here's Nussmeier again, rolling out to the left, overthrows Kyle Parker, and it is intercepted by the Gamecocks.
And this is some of the plays that Nuss was off. He was behind, he was overthrown, whatever. Anyway, back to the pressure, and JP, great to see 5 sacks. You made a great point about Harold Perkins. That's the Harold Perkins I want to see the rest of the year.
Yeah, big sack right there by Jack Pyburn, who provided great pressure the entire game. South Carolina does tie it up right here in the third quarter, 10-10, bud, man.
Yep, no doubt about it. And then, of course, as we know, just another great catch over here to Big 14. Look,
Yeah.
You said 11 targets. I'm with you every game, 8 or 9. And once again, here's the quick slant. Kyle Parker running away from people.
Yeah, happy for Kyle Parker. Guys really waited his turn. He had 6 targets, had 5 catches on 75 yards, 56 yards after the catch, bud, man. Of course, that was the long of 43 for the touchdown. And LSU is up 17-10 at this point.
We talked about it in the fall camp. All these wide receivers, as we see, number 12, Kyle Parker, when he's healthy, JP, good catch potential, and also can run away from people. Here we go. Nuss, speaking of running, look at Nuss go. Looks like, I don't know what he looks like, but 20-something yards. That's his longest run all year long.
You got to slide, Nuss. Great job stepping up in the pocket, 3rd and 6, getting the first down, but you got to protect yourself. Don't let anybody fall on that shoulder. Here's a great run. Juwan Johnson bouncing back after that fumble early. Nice 56-yarder, bud, man. LSU needed it right here.
And, you know, folks, let's be honest. LSU's got to get better at running back. They got to get guys that can take it to the house, of course, as we go. Once again, there's the key, reading the safety. He's waiting, and ill-advised throw by Nuss. Once again, a turnover right at the half-yard line.
Yeah, unlikely turnover for Nuss. He's usually good about reading the defense before the snap of the play. Here's more pressure by LSU's defense, turning the ball back to the LSU Tigers. Another great route right here. Tough to tackle after the catch. Trey'Dez Green, focal point in the offense this past weekend.
You just cannot defend him when he squares up his shoulders and turns around and catches the ball with his frame. Here we go, another one, Trey'Dez Green. And I'm just surprised it took him this long to realize what an impact he can be on offense. And then another field goal to give you the final margin of 20-10. Ramos has been pretty darn consistent all year long.
Yeah, that last catch by Trey'Dez Green, that was a great rebound by a good basketball player. Use your body, shield them out, use your hands to catch the football. Here's a great corner blitz by D.J. Pickett, the true freshman. Great pressure, great tackle. That's the way to execute that play.
Shout out to Jack Pyburn. Had so many games where, so many times where he almost sacked him. Was back in the backfield all weekend long. Of course, and that was an injury. Jamori Butler, another defensive end and an edge rush guy who got banged up and is out. He's got a lateral ankle. Excuse me. We'll find out about his availability. Hey, this is what you were saying earlier, JP. I want to see if Harold Perkins is going to get a little bit more from the edge. I think you use him now a little bit more on the edge and make Diego Pavia make tough decisions. This guy's not the biggest guy, 5'11", about 205, 200, but he has the fact that he makes everybody better around him, JP.
Yeah, he's a leader that you can really admire, bud, man. This guy, you know, going to Vanderbilt, not a lot of expectations outside, but obviously they believe. And that team is pulling together on the rope. I mean, they're pulling the same direction. They believe in discipline and being in the right place at the right time. The coach has done a great job in Clark Lee, and he's coached with Coach Brian Kelly. A lot of respect both ways. And, yeah, the days of, you know, going into Vanderbilt and getting your, like, breather through the SEC is totally gone. I mean, this team is ranked 17th for a reason. They have a great resume, even though it's very short. The same players, you know, put it on Alabama last year for the first time in school history, and nobody really left. They still have the same leader at quarterback, dual threat. Got to make him one-dimensional. This guy, just like Sellers can, he will wreck your day if you let him get outside the pocket. Good running back, decent wide receivers, good tight end. So LSU, like you said, has to start fast. Can't be chasing points against Vanderbilt early, 11 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, Vanderbilt was off last weekend, folks, and so they are going to be rested and ready to go. Diego Pavia followed the lead of Johnny Manziel and opened his mouth and talked about Alabama and said if everything is, if we're healthy, it won't be close. I would imagine Clark Lee was going to say, hey, you're not talking to the media this
right.
week. You put foot in your mouth. But this is going to be a very tough challenge. Look, these guys aren't normally ready to play at 11 o'clock in the morning. Vanderbilt has not had a great home crowd. Interesting to see how many Tiger fans are going to follow over there. You know, when Bama and others go over there, they pretty much have half the stadium. But I can tell you this, they've got a tight end by the name of Eli Stowers, and LSU historically, JP, has had trouble defending the tight end, the little drag over the top on the linebacker. Diego Pavia also puts a lot of pressure on you if you let him get outside the pocket. Now, he's not going to hurt you in the second and third level like Sellers is, who's 6'3", 240, but he is a very smart football player. He's got the swag, and he's feeling it because, you know, last year LSU beat him 28-21, but Pavia was about 80%.
Right.
You know he's got this game circled and wants to bring it Saturday in front of a national TV audience. ABC, look at the matchups this weekend, and at 11 o'clock, LSU and Vandy. Oh, by the way, Tennessee and Alabama at 2:30, and, of course, big games throughout the weekend. JP, What were you making of the fact that Vanderbilt is now a favorite? It started out LSU an early favorite, moved to 1.5. Vandy now 2.5 point favorites in this game. You think it comes down, or you think people are thinking, if Vandy plays their game, they might beat LSU this weekend?
Well, absolutely. You got to give Vanderbilt credit. I mean, what they've done on paper, on the field, this is a legit football team. And LSU has struggled offensively. Everybody knows about the 11 a.m. start. LSU, a very good night team, especially when they're at home. But they're traveling almost to Nashville to play at 11 o'clock in the morning. Of course, they'll have the Thursday and Friday. They'll wake up early, get the pregame meal, try to get their bodies acclimated to the routine. But it's going to be tough to do in 3 days, bud, man. I mean, they had the break, midwinter break for school, so they got to get that taken care of. Practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, excuse me. Yeah. And, look, the venue, the time of day, on top of this being a very good football team, all that combined, LSU has to execute or they're going to be behind early. It's going to be tough to chase points when Pavi can just, execute that running game. He does a great job. And you can't really take away credit from Vanderbilt from what they've been able to do. This is a good football team. You can't look ahead of them. It's not going to be, go in there and if we're named LSU, so we're going to win. Got to take care of business. Get ready for a fist fight. You mentioned the score last year, 28-21 at LSU, a very close game. You mentioned the quarterback having this one circled. Absolutely. They want to add to that resume. They want to be on the top of the pyramid. There's no more little brother Vanderbilt. They believe in their coach. They believe in their program. They've invested a lot of money into that stadium. They believe they have a good team, and they're going to try to prove it on Saturday.
Of course, we also know, JP, that a big one, the Red River Shootout. Well, you were so busy you probably didn't get a chance to see it, but Oklahoma started well, got an early lead, and then Arch Manning and Steve Sarkisian came back to win that game. Great defense from Texas. Of course, Georgia is still moving along. But A&M, I got to ask you, I know we're talking Vandy this week, but A&M and Ole Miss, are they legitimate top 5 teams in your opinion, or you want to see them play a few more games to see if they can hold up under this incredible gauntlet when you play all these SEC games?
Yeah, both those teams playing really well, but man, especially at quarterback. Both have real dual threat quarterbacks and kind of unproven quarterbacks. So to me, I have to see a few more games just to make sure A&M's for real. And I know Ole Miss had a great game plan against LSU, but I promise you, they circled that game. They had a lot of attention on that game, not only with the Whit Weeks and Lane Kiffin's daughter storyline, but the home team winning the last 5 years in that rivalry. Of course, the Magnolia Bowl. Ole Miss came to play. I think LSU was a little bit flat, not according to Brian Kelly, but just that was my eyes, what I saw. But Texas A&M, right now, they are playing very good football on all 3 facets of the game. Offensively, they take care of the football. Defensively, they take it away. They get after the quarterback. They can stop the run. Special teams, they have dynamic return guys. So, I think there's a lot of different ways that both Ole Miss and A&M can win football games. But you mentioned it. It is such a gauntlet that if you don't show up with your 100% A game any given Saturday, you can get beat top to bottom.
Ole Miss is at Georgia this weekend. They could sustain their first loss, although they did beat them last year. LSU Vandy at 11 a.m. on ABC. Ole Miss at Georgia, 2:45. They're going to tell you 2:30, but it really is about a 2:45 kick with ABC. And then, of course, Tennessee and Alabama Saturday night. We will take another quick break, come back, some player interviews, BK, and much more on a Tuesday edition of Tigers Roar TV right here. Buddy Sanji, Jonathan Poche, and, of course, the award-winning cameraman, Marty Campbell. Hope everybody doing well. Back with more on Pelican Sports TV.
Tremonti's has meat. Tremonti's has seafood. Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremonti's.com.
Few things in life are as valuable as family and peace of mind, especially when it comes to your final arrangements, and that's where Lee Serio can help. His prepaid funeral plans make sure your life will be remembered exactly the way you want it to. With Lee Serio, no detail is too large or too small. Call Lee or his wife Gretchen at 225-315-6329. Let Lee Serio give you and your family the peace of mind you all deserve.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Emphasizing the commitment to customer and passenger safety, Mazda's proud to have received 8 coveted Top Safety Pick Plus awards from the IIHS for 2025, more than any other brand. Come experience Mazda at Baton Rouge's Mazda dealer, Team Mazda on Airline.
Treads & Care Tire Company announces its new location on Hooper Road in Central. Locally owned for 50 years, Treads & Care is known for quality automotive repair with top-notch customer service. Treads & Care offers the convenience of shuttle service and pickup and delivery of your vehicle. You can also enjoy the comfortable customer area, complete with workstations, high-speed internet, and a complimentary coffee bar.
I'd like to invite you to come out and see us at our new location in Central.
Treads & Care, the tires you need and the service you want.
And we welcome you back on this Tuesday afternoon. Jonathan Poche across the hall from Buddy Sanji, Marty Campbell here as we recap the weekend. Look, folks, the $64 million question is going to be answered in the next couple weekends. JP, I think LSU, if you really want to snip the playoffs this year, you've got to beat Vandy on Saturday. Then you've got to take down an undefeated A&M team. A&M's at Arkansas. I don't expect them to lose. So they're going to come in here undefeated in top 5. JP, if LSU doesn't call plays better and execute plays better, I think they win one of these 2 games, but not both of them. They've got to be a little more creative. They've got to play with a higher IQ, got to coach with a higher IQ. Interesting to see if BK is going to get more involved with play calling.
Yeah, but, man, at the halfway point of the season, now's not the time for developing guys. It is what it is at this point. Offensive line has to continue to move forward, fire off the ball. I can't believe they're even talking about firing off the ball. Week 6 in the press conference, asking about your offensive line firing off the ball. But BK said they're there. Now it's time to take another step forward and sustain blocks. LSU needs a run game. They were to put some things together against South Carolina, but they have to continue this weekend against Vanderbilt. It's going to be paramount to keep Garrett Nussmeier upright healthy. You saw him kind of dinged up with the ankle, had a mild ankle sprain. They're expecting him to be 100% or close to it, as close as possible, with that oblique he's still coming back from. But I thought Garrett Nussmeier threw the ball a lot better. Offense just has to execute the game plan, catch the balls that are in front of you, and open up holes for those running backs. Ball security will be paramount this weekend, Budman.
Going to give you a little different taste, folks. We're going to give you 3 player interviews after the game. Jack Pyburn, who was fantastic all night long. Mansour Delane, the best corner LSU's had in a long, long time. His stats are unbelievable. And, of course, Trey'Dez Green. We've got a trio for you here, 3 players after the game, after another 20-10 win in the SEC over Carolina Saturday night.
Jason Lenoris all over the field tonight. Just did the job that the defense did to stay in it all 4 quarters and kind of keep this thing, the way it was.
Yeah, no, first off, respect to him. He's a great player. But overall, I think our defense did a great job of just pursuing and being relentless. Guys were flying around all over the place. Played a lot of snaps on defense overall as a defense, but you didn't see it quit from this defense, and there's just a fight that can't be taught, and that's something that we pride ourselves on.
Being an edge, how important was for you and Patrick, I guess, to really hold the edge and kind of understand the assignment tonight?
Yeah, we knew they were going to try to bounce the ball, and they were going to do a lot of things to try to mess with our eyes, and we needed to keep the QB in the pocket. So it was something that we harped on all week with Coach Peoples, and me and Pat, we tried to get after and do our job tonight.
Can you speak to the tandem between you and Witt? It seemed pretty easy for you all taking down Sellers.
Yeah, no, it's fun playing with that guy. We have a lot of fun on the field, and we're both super physical, aggressive players. So when you put us on the same side of the field, like when I'm a boundary and he's a Will, it's really fun. It's a really good duo. It's fun.
You're able to get a sack tonight. What does that do for the confidence and kind of mojo or momentum, I guess, for the team?
Yeah, obviously, super happy with that. But I left a few out there on the table, and I got to go back to work. And I could have had 4 tonight. So that's the big takeaway for me is I got to get better, and we got to keep getting better as a team because this team, sky's the limit if we just continue to play complementary football and play better football together.
Do you feel like you kind of took a step forward in that aspect in this game?
Yeah, 100%. No, overall, I'm happy with the way I played, but I'm always looking for more. I've always expect more out of myself, and I'm just excited to get back to work on Monday because we got a lot of games ahead of us and a lot of good teams, and I'm looking forward to some really good SEC ball and playing with my brothers.
Beating your chest because you have to be composed, locked in, patient. So after I make the play, I just feel like I just let it all out. Like before the play, I'm all patient and I feel like I'm quiet and stuff like that. But when you make plays, I feel like all my emotions just come out.
What's 10 points to an SEC team like this? How much pride do y'all take in 10 points?
Yeah, definitely. Baker, it starts from him. Just the confidence he has in us and the confidence we have all in each other. The standard is even higher than today. That little, bust at the beginning of the game, that should have happened. It should have been 3 points. So, really just, the expectation of this defense, is very high. So,
what is the expectation? You said it's high. What is the expectation of this defense?
You're never going to get perfection, but, we chase it. So, really I feel like every week there's something that we can always improve. So, we clean up those things, and every team we play from now on is going to get better and better and better. So, we have to keep cleaning those things up, and then we'll be the defense we want to be.
How important was it to get Sellers into those passing situations, and because you know how much of a threat he is rush, but how important was it for this defense to get in those situations so you guys could take advantage in the secondary when he is passing?
Yeah, great quarterback, great athlete, but Coach Baker again preached make him play quarterback, make him throw the ball. So obviously you've seen tonight he's just running all around back there, great athlete, like I said again, but we want to force him into our strengths. That was kind of the main goal tonight.
Play itself out in a game like that. What's the feeling as you're navigating the game? Does your confidence continue to build as the game progresses?
Yeah, I feel like my confidence. I came into the game kind of hesitant, about my knee and stuff, but once I got that first catch, it was all go then.
So how much has your health improved?
It's improved. I'm probably 80% right now.
That was 80%?
Yeah.
Trey, how much did the bye week and that extra preparation kind of help unlock some of the stuff in you?
It helped a lot. I got a chance to really heal up a lot. So, like I said, I'm probably about 80%. This week I'm going to take some time and heal up to 100%. Y'all might see me without the break.
So good to see 14 get 11 targets. And, folks, there is more from Trey'Dez Green. Don't ask him to block, please. And Bauer Sharp needs a few balls. The guy I want to see get involved this weekend, and I'm going to tell you right now, folks, Barry Brown. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. He played 3 years at Kentucky. I don't think they've done a good job of getting the football to him. But all those balls that Chris Hilton's getting and not being able to convert and catch and possess, I give those to Barry Brown this weekend. But I think, JP, I can't get over this start. I don't want people to come in here after soccer or whatever you're doing with your kids, and it's 11:30, 11:45. Don't want to see LSU down 14-3, 17-7. You've got to start fast. And of course, we're going to let you hear from BK. But keys for LSU to beat Vandy on Saturday morning.
Yeah, Trey'Dez Green got to be a vocal point. Throw it to him early. Get those safeties looking at that tight end, getting them off of the boundaries, and get those speedsters. That ball lift up that vertical passing game and expand that box. Cannot face 6, 7, 8 in the box. Gotta take the cover off that defense. Get it to the playmakers. Aaron Anderson working back. Love to see him work the middle of the field with Trey'Dez Green. Such a dynamic duo of playmakers. But in my opinion, it starts with that offensive line. If they have a game like they had this past weekend, I think LSU has a great chance to run the football and be productive, efficient off offense. If they struggle opening up holes for that run game, make Garrett Nussmeier one-dimensional. This offense one-dimensional. Drop 8 drop 8 out of the box and have 3 in the box. Going to be real tough for LSU's offense. So, yeah, got to start early. Make Trey'Dez Green a vocal point. I like the number at 11 targets. He had 8 receptions. I think you keep feeding that man until they prove they can stop him. But, yeah, it starts with that offensive line. But, man, defense has been carrying so far. I hope they continue to do a great job for Coach Blake Baker. He's done a good job dialing up some exotic blitzes. Got to see more of that, and I would love to see Harold Perkins spend a majority of his time with his hand either on the ground or on the edge and getting after that quarterback.
All right, folks, with the 11 a.m. start, you can grill up your Manda sausage with your eggs and all of your breakfasts. Of course, you're going to throw in some Bloody Marys and some libations. Here's Brian Kelly talking about Vandy and LSU out at LSU with the Monday press conference yesterday afternoon.
Let's begin. I just want to go back to Saturday and just give you some of my thoughts on the game. You know, first and foremost, I think we're 23-2 at home, and the expectation is, you know, success at home in particular. It's Tiger Stadium, and our guys love playing in it, and you know, the atmosphere at kickoff was amazing. I'm not sure that it carried that way the whole 4 quarters, but it is what it is. We're going to play football no matter what. But what I loved about our team is their grit. You know, it wasn't a perfect game for us. We made some mistakes, but we overcame that. And if you really watch the film, we competed. We had guys running, flying around, playing physical. One of the top quarterbacks in the league felt us. I just really liked the way we competed. Now, our attention to detail has to be better. Our focus on certain things have to be much better. But I really like the fact that compete, that mindset was there for our football team. Other things that really stood out after you watch film is that we ran off the ball for the first time with the offensive line. We got off the ball. Now, we got to sustain, and sustainability is will and want to, and we got to get more of that. I thought we did a great job in protecting our quarterback. No sacks against one of the elite pass rushers in Stewart in the league. He is an outstanding athlete, and I was proud of our guys in keeping our quarterback clean. So some of the real foundational principles of being successful are in place. Some of the things that allow you to extend games and get away from your opponent, they're not in place. 73-yard run, yet we bottle up the run the whole game, but you know, we're not in the right place when we should be, and we know that. So that's attention to detail. That's staying focused. Offensively, the turnovers, those are details that have to be cleaned up. You know, our tough territory coming out, we've got to be much better. We've got to set up field position with first downs in those tough territory areas. We have not been good enough there. We've put our defense in shorter fields because we haven't been able to, get first downs needed in when the ball is backed up. And, of course, in our blue zone, 5-yard going in, 10-yard going in, that clearly has to be much better. So we know the areas that we need to improve on. They're all very much within our grasp of doing so. But we're going to have to do it over this next stretch. We're going to have to go on the road against Vanderbilt, who's a disciplined, well-coached, fundamentally sound football team, and do a great job in the running game. And so we're going to have to be better, quite frankly, in all the areas that I mentioned. But the foundational principles are exciting for me that I'm seeing, and now we've got to build off of those. So that's a little bit about the game itself. We know what we're getting. Clark Lee, obviously, coached with me. He's an outstanding coach. He's a great communicator. He's process-driven, and you can see that in the way their football team plays. So it'll be a great challenge going on the road. 11 a.m. start. We'll get them up early and get them rolling. But they're number 2 in the SEC in points scored. They're rushing top in the country. And so we know where it starts with Pavia at quarterback, an outstanding quarterback. He's the point guard and makes it happen. Really impressed with Alexander's growth from last year to this year as a runner. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. Eli Stowers he's up there with, we're prejudiced because of our tight ends, but, he is a top tight end in the country. And again, I mentioned their defense. Hurd leads the team in tackles. Great safety play. Their edge player, Capers, has got 4.5 sacks. So we know, again, the foundational principles of their team is based upon, a strong process and believing in what they do, and they do it. So it'll be a great challenge for our football team. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Coach, this week was probably the best you guys have run the ball all year. Were there any real adjustments or schematic adjustments? We noticed that you guys were a lot more under center with your run game this week.
Yeah, I think it's just been an evolution. I think it starts with getting off the ball. I think it starts with, aiming points for our offensive line. A lot of the things that take time to come together is starting to come to fruition. And so the run game, as I said, has got to be central to our overall offensive efficiency, but it's got to show itself in other areas as well. So we've got some work to do.
Coach, with Garrett and the decision-making, is it a case of he's a fifth-year senior, he knows better, he's been coached this many times, or how much coaching do you still give him on some of these decisions and the mistakes he's making without paralyzing him through thought?
It's a fair question, Jacques. I think we're trying to balance this. He plays with a swagger, and he's better with a swagger, right? Don't know that he had that the previous weeks. Thought he was a little bit robotic. And we said, listen, you needed to be Garrett Nussmeier. And he was. Unfortunately, some of that comes with some mistakes. I think that that's an aberration, the mistake that was in the red zone, and something that he would immediately say, I should have had my eyes on that safety, because that's my read. But I like the version of Garrett Nussmeier we saw. He was a lot more confident. He was a lot more active in the pocket. He had an opportunity to run a couple of times. That's the version we want. We want to clean up those what I would call uncharacteristic mistakes.
What happened with Bernard Gooden, and can you give us an update there?
Collarbone, bruised collarbone. Very sore right now, but clean, no break. So this is a short-time thing, and one he'll have to manage the pain relative to how we go through the week.
Right. I'm sure through your career you've had guys like Diego Pavia who kind of elevate everyone else around them. Yeah. As the opposing coach, how do you coach your team to prepare for that guy who's going to bring out the best in his team?
Make him one-dimensional. I think that those dual-threat quarterbacks, if they can do both, you're in trouble. So we've got to really do a great job in the running game. And not to say that he can't throw the ball, because he can. They average over 200 yards throwing the football, and he's capable. But I think if you're trying to choose one or the other, he's going to kill you if he runs. So we're going to take the path that we need to be really good against the run and then put them in predictable situations. They're the best in the country in third down because they're in third and short most of the time. So we've got to get them, off schedule. First down is really crucial for us. If we can get them, again, in second and third situations that are a little bit longer, we can be more predictive relative to the balance between run and pass.
And with Jamari Butler, what's the status of him?
He has an ankle, lateral though. It's not high ankle. And I would say that he's probable if we were to put out a report. We got good news on that as well. I think we got good news on all of the injuries that we had. I'll give you a quick rundown so we can get through it. Aaron Anderson looked good. We'll continue to progress with him. Caden Durham had, a hip pointer, which was mild, but one that affected him a little bit. He'll be fine. Braylon Moore had a stinger, but under control. We took an MRI. It looked good. Paul Mabangar is making progress. We expect him to be available this week. And Nussmeier had a slight ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain, but a medial, and we feel like he's going to be fine. So those are the top guys. We talked about Gooden with the collarbone, Jamari with the ankle, and then Whit Weeks is just from his injury, he's sore. But that's our entire injury report.
And then with Dylan Carpenter having to take more snaps, how do you think he fared?
Yeah, he was solid. Dylan is a solid player. He's reliable and trustworthy, and he's going to do his job. He may not flash the way some of the other guys do, but we put him on the field because we trust him.
Coach, you were able to hold Sellers to 19 yards on 22 carries. How important was that, whether it be schematically for the defense or just from a confidence standpoint going into the next two games with guys like Pavia and Marcel Reed?
Yeah, certainly, we knew that he was the guy that we had to center on. I think if there's only one thing that we would like to be better at is we've got to keep them in the pocket. These quarterbacks that get outside on us create havoc in the back end of our defense. So a little bit better there, but we were really solid in terms of stopping him from running. His longest run was a quarterback draw. And it was the second and long situation they caught up. But I was really pleased with the overall effort.
Ryan, obviously going into the game, the questions were, how's Garrett going to throw the ball? Can you run the ball? You did those things well. You had the issues in the red zone, but
Yeah.
do you feel those are more fixable?
Those are correctable.
Than the other ones that are more.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I think the question is, one that I present myself with every Sunday when I come back in, like, what are the issues here that we can fix and are really fixable, that you don't see them again, or you don't see them pop up again to the point where they can cost you a game? The foundational principles of getting off the ball, playing great run defense, attacking the ball in the air, pushing the ball down the field were in place. Now let's be a better version of that as we continue to move forward.
I think historically people credit you for having great line play and tight end development, right? So kind of what you were saying earlier about seeing some of these tenets evolve in your offensive line. Do you feel like those foundational pieces are there and it is that refinement and that steady improvement week to week?
Yeah, we're at the point now where we can talk about sustaining blocks, which is simply a determination and a want to and a will. And we got to get to that, because if we sustain 1 or 2 blocks, well, we had 6 runs of 15 yards or more. That's a really good start. We could have had 3 or 4 that were of 50 or more. And we just need to sustain. I couldn't get to sustaining blocks if I couldn't get off the ball. Now we're getting off the ball. Now we got to sustain blocks. We got to hold on to those blocks. It can't just be contact and that's it, because those guys are folding back in and making plays. So we're at a next stage if we continue to do what we're doing, which puts us in a really good place.
Brian, I know of at least one team, but there was a team last year that went to Nashville and lost, and they were a big favorite. Like, do you guys talk about that at all?
No, we have a respect for Vanderbilt. You just watch the film. They're so disciplined. They do the things the right way. They're a hard football team. They're a mature football team. This is a mature team. They've got 5th and 6th year and 7th, 8th, 9th. I don't even, they've been forever. But they are well coached and disciplined. And so you know what you're going to get in the SEC when you play a team of that caliber. And their record now has spoken for themselves. So you don't have to go in and, hey, this is what you got to be worried about Vanderbilt. No, they know what Vanderbilt's done. They've got work. They have a resume. Now, it's not a long resume, but it's a real resume with the same players. So that's why we don't need to get into those kind of, hey, remember what they did to Alabama. We just need to look at last year's game. We won 28-21, and it was hard fought.
All right, folks, we take our sunglasses off, hoping that LSU can get the victory. Of course, if they don't, we'll have the sunglasses back on real quick. LSU at Vandy, very important. The Tigers open up strong. LSU, by the way, a little tidbit for you. 10 consecutive coin tosses they have lost. I'm going to predict, JP, that they win the coin toss. LSU at Vandy at 11. OU, who got beat by Texas, is at Carolina at 11:45 on the SEC Network. Mississippi State at Florida. Both teams struggling to keep their head above water. Of course, Texas at Kentucky at 6 o'clock. The big one at 2:30. Ole Miss at Georgia. Can the Rebels pull the upset? And then Tennessee at Bama, 6:30 on ABC. We'll talk about all of that. And as always, appreciate all of you tuning in to Tigers Roar TV. Don't forget, we will be back here next week for another edition right here on Pelican Sports TV.